is a stack position? We often talk about finding this infamous stack body position, but what does that mean? Ultimately, we're looking for our rib cage to sit on top of our pelvis. So how we can think about it is our diaphragm, our thoracic diaphragm. So think of this as your thorax sitting above our pelvic floor or our pelvic diaphragm. Oftentimes postpartum, we're in this more extended posture, so that ribs flared, booty popping, so like an open scissor. What this does is we're in a little bit of extension here, which compresses us on the backside, kind of over lengthens the abdominals, and maybe we're in that more ribs flared position. So ultimately the goal is we can find that stack, so our hamstrings can help bring us and our abdominals into a nice stacked position, but without us dropping the chest or squeezing the glutes to do it. So if you are in this extended position, sometimes we try and find neutral, but this is ultimately squeezing the glutes and maybe we drop this chest down. We want to find this stacked position so we can manage pressure through our core canister and through the whole body. This is going to be really key for us to kind of feel our abdominals, manage pressure leaks like diastasis, pelvic organ prolapse, and leaking, and just feel really strong and more upright in our posture. So first thing you want to think about is where you're feeling pressure in your feet. So if you do feel that pressure more forward and maybe the knees are locked out, thinking about being more soft in the knees, so avoiding that extension and lockout, and just shifting the weight from your forefoot a little bit back in towards your heels. Not so much so that you fall backwards, but we just don't want to be up on our toes or clenching on our toes. Just allow that weight shift to happen towards the heels and the knees to stay soft. In this position, thinking about, you can even reach one arm or two arms forward. Instead of being in this ribs flared, thinking about exhaling, and allowing those ribs to kind of softly, instead of here, exhaling those ribs back without dropping the chest. From the pelvis position, thinking about slightly tucking, you can feel that rock back and forth, small tilts at the pelvis. So we're reaching forward, finding those lower ribs kind of melting back and coming back in space, and then watching the over tuck, so keeping the glutes open, these sits bones kind of pointed that way, but without hyperextending. So reaching forward, knees soft, weight travels back to towards the heels, and then just thinking about inhaling and exhaling in this position. As you go through your core exercises and strength movements, we want to set ourselves up in a position where we can maintain that ribs over pelvis position. So instead of being extended and flared and booty popping, we can more naturally find that stacked position and load this position. Because if we're here and we load it, that's when we might feel our low back, maybe we feel some discomfort somewhere in the body, and our abdominals are in that over lengthened position. So if I cue you to exhale and you're here, you may not feel that lower abdominal sensation that we're going for. So thinking about exhaling, get these ribs in a good position, watching that you're not overly arched, so you're thinking about that small posterior tilt, weight kind of coming back towards the heels, reaching forward, and kind of breathing in this position. This is the position we want to load from, not this. So it's tricky to find that stacked body position. We'll be working on it, but that's ultimately what I mean by stacked body is rib cage over pelvis. We can utilize props to help get our pelvis in a good position without squeezing on the glutes, keep our chest open without flaring, and thinking about these lower ribs kind of melting back on the exhale and feeling these side abs so that rib flare isn't keeping us in the extended position. Questions on the stack, how we find it, tune in, continue through the program, and I'll have more to come.